I would like to call to order the Board of Education regular meeting for May 20th, 2021. We will now open our meeting for public comment. Please remember that this is not a dialogue between you and the board. If you have a specific issue which requires a response, I apologize, I jumped right over the roll call. Baby steps. I'm just going to be looking to Phyllis through.
Bill Jordan. Here. Espinosa.
Here.
Joseph.
Here.
Ruffner.
Here.
Sturbins.
Here.
Sullivan.
Here.
Warshaw.
Here.
We are called to order. We will now open our meeting for public comment. Please remember this is not a dialogue between you and the board. If you have a specific issue which requires a response, Superintendent Garwood or the appropriate person will get back to you. Please state your name and your connection to Skokie School District 68. Please limit your remarks to no more than 5 minutes. Finally, avoid comments specific to any person, student, or staff member respecting their right to privacy.
Did we receive any public comments via email prior to the meeting?
We did not.
We did not.
No. Wonderful. We will now move on to the superintendent's reports.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our meeting. First thing I want to point out is we are using our new video and audio recording and streaming system. If you'll notice, there are 2 round microphones up in the ceiling here, and then there's a video camera straight in the back wall up near the ceiling, and a second one over here that we can switch to capture a podium presenter for the occasions that we have that. The cameras also, if we really wanted to mess with them, they can swivel around and do things, but we have it set up right now in preset modes to make it easy so that we can operate it from here from the table. We are streaming out live through YouTube right now. We're able to see, I think we have 4 or 5 audience members. Christy Samajedny, I know, is one of them. She was unable to join us this evening, but I know she's online, and we have a couple of other people watching as well. So, the public comment aspect of board meeting for people who attend remotely, there's directions where the board link is, asking them to email their public comments that they might have before 5 o'clock. We spent that last couple of hours getting set up, and we don't want a late submission to be forgotten, so we set a deadline at 5 o'clock to get those. So yeah, I think that's about it for our audio and video system. We will let you know when we turn it on, so when we get into proper meeting decorum mode, and then when we turn it off as well. It's also recording the meeting in addition to live streaming it. And I think you guys saw my recommendation, the board memo, that we keep 15 months of meeting agendas and all the accompanying materials online. It just seemed to make sense that that would be the timeline that we would keep video on. When we sort of pulled the township, there was only a few districts that actually do post recorded board meetings. And most of them weren't for very long, except for 219, which I think is archived and back to 2013. So, but it seems that 15 months, kind of just fit in with the pattern of everything else we do with that. So if that was okay with everybody, that's what we were thinking. Sounds good. Any objections? Okay, great. Second thing is, several weeks ago, we sent out the communication to parents about the change in school start times for next year. And to date, I think today I received my second feedback from a parent about it. The first one, I think I let you guys know, was just somebody asking about the circadian rhythm research for teenagers. And I responded to that. Apparently satisfactorily because I did not get a response after my response. And the second one just came today, a parent who is very thankful for the additional time that the new schedule allows for elementary kids, especially coming out of COVID. Apart from that, we have heard no negative feedback whatsoever about the schedule changes to date. As time gets closer and it may sink in, more for people once we get to August, maybe we'll hear something then, but I don't anticipate that there's going to be much of a negative response. If anything, I hope and believe that we'll get much more positive response for what we were able to accomplish with those changes for next year. Masks, the whole disinfection theater, which is now what CDC, basically refers to all of our sanitization of hard surfaces. And the, self-certifications right now, a lot of that is, starting to go away. Like technically, if we've all been vaccinated, we don't have to wear masks right now. That decision came out of the CDC, a week or so ago and kind of threw us in okay, what do? We've just got a few weeks left. Do we make a modification and change, or do we just hold steady? After thinking about it and talking as a team, we thought it was just better to hold steady right now. We're still requiring, all the adults, even if they've been vaccinated, to have masks. We're still doing the same disinfection, we've been doing all year. And, the self-certification. Right now, the routines are established and run very smoothly. And we know that some people have gotten anxious when they thought that we might stop doing some of these things. And we thought for 3 more weeks, 12 school days, it would behoove us to just hold steady and keep doing the same thing. And then summer hopefully serves as a very natural break to put the masks away and, revert back to our earlier, very thorough cleaning practices, but, maybe not quite as, as much of the sanitization of every surface as before. We just think it's better just to get through a couple more weeks, and then we can go back to a more, hopefully, normal lifestyle going into next year, which I'll talk more about in just a second. Today, you might have seen communication go out about vaccines for our students who are 12 years and above. We have a total of 479 kids at Old Orchard who are 12 years and above out of the roughly 600 kids that are there. When we did a poll a few weeks ago, about 200 parents responded from that group that they would like their 12-year-olds and above vaccinated. Skokie Health Department's been moving very quickly, just got, information last night and the night before about the clinics, so we were able to get that communication put together. We will be busing our kids over from Old Orchard to 7770 Frontage Road, same place that I think many of us got our vaccinations. And there's a whole process where parents have to register. We will be done with school when the second vaccine comes around. I think June 15th is the second date that they have for those vaccinations. And we kind of worried a little bit about, will all of our parents be able to get kids there? So we thought, well, we've got all the buses. At that time, we can just have our drivers come in and we can go around and pick up kids who need to be picked up to get them to that second vaccination at that time too. That's all in motion, and next Tuesday ought to be a very exciting day. I know that our health coordinator, Andrea Bellici, over at Old Orchard, I was talking to her yesterday, and she said she's getting a constant stream of kids already who are going up and showing their badge of honor, their Band-Aid, that they're already, kids are already getting the vaccination. So, things are moving along. What you've probably seen the same things I've been seeing. They're saying that by September, they would have vaccinations ready for 2 to 11-year-olds. I'm hoping it's a little bit sooner, and think it may be, but we'll just keep our fingers crossed and keep watching and see how that goes. With regards to next year, I think I put out a communication a week or 2 ago about what I anticipated for next year, and just recently from the Illinois State Board of Education and the governor's office, that pretty much backed up what my speculative thoughts were, that things will be pretty normal in their estimation at this time. In-person schooling will be required for all students except those who meet 2 criteria, and it's not an either or. You have to meet both of these criteria. You have to either be ineligible for a vaccine, ineligible for a vaccine and be a subject of a quarantine order. And the only 2 types of quarantine orders I've seen so far is where we've all been ordered to, stay in place, or you've been exposed to somebody. So that's a very temporary, kind of situation. So it would seem that unless school districts create a remote instructional program, which is an option that school districts could do, that we can require all students to return back to school in person. For that very small number that might meet both of those criteria, the instruction requirements revert to a homebound tutoring model, which is approximately an hour a day of interaction with the teacher and then additional asynchronous work time. I mean, that's the minimum requirement for that. So it would seem, assuming masks are, I'm sorry, that masks would probably not be necessary in school if that vaccination campaign hits 2 to 11, before the start of school, or we could maybe get rid of the masks soon afterwards. So I think we're on track for a return to something that approximates normal going into next year. Let's see. Had a meeting today with Skokie superintendents and the new police chief, Brian Baker. We were talking about plans on how to improve communications between the police department and us. Every once in a while we've had some snafus where we had situations occurring near our schools, and we didn't know about them, and those would be the kinds of things that would put us in a soft lockdown. Just make sure the exterior doors aren't open for anybody. We recently had an incident a few weeks ago where there was an armed robbery across the street at the Jewel right near the end of the day, and dismissal time in Old Orchard was occurring at the same time. And I heard about it because Joe sent me something that he had heard, and we had no communication that came from the police department whatsoever about that. They were sincerely apologetic about that, and part of their thing is they just need a process, because they're officers that are dealing with the situation. The last thing they're thinking about is, oh, let's call the school. And so he talked about processes he was putting into place for people in their communication department who would be responsible for contacting the schools, so that we're able to keep our kids and staff safe in these situations. We had a similar situation a few years ago at Stenson where there was I think it was just like across the street from Stenson, where the police had a house surrounded with an armed suspect inside. And again, they didn't tell us about it. So Brian's new in the position, absolutely understands the idea of the partnership, that in order for us to be able to keep kids safe under the protocols that they work with us to develop, lockdown drills, that we just need to improve those communications, and he and the department are very committed to doing that, which was something we were really happy to hear. So, 8th grade graduation. We are looking for any board member who's interested, if they'd like to come out and hand out diplomas at the drive-up graduation that's taking place on May 20th.
Thursday.
7th, thank you. Next Thursday. So, Mr. Hanson, if I recall, you were projecting approximately a 2-hour window of time. And this is basically cars pulling up and diplomas being handed off. So it's a long time to be standing. So we have multiple opportunities for anybody who would like to come and be a part of that graduation process. I know Joe's volunteered already.
Yeah, I would do some or all of it if the period where it's students whose names start with S. that could be kind of fun, but whenever you need help, that'd be
There's
helpful.
kind of a history of
Yes.
that
Cool.
motivation.
They're always different.
Yeah, I believe in my time here, every board member who's had a graduating 8th grader has volunteered and done
Say,
more
last
work.
year when I got to watch a DVD, thank you.
Yeah, so just let me know where, when I could be helpful.
And no obligation for anybody. I mean, there's plenty of opportunities to help out do these things. But if anybody else would like to, please let me know. And we'll let Greg know, and he can create a schedule and let him know your winter time. So you're open to a full 2 hours.
If that's what you need, sure. If people want to chop it up, I can do that too. Either way.
You'll be getting your time frame on Friday,
Sounds good.
which is tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Any chance we'll be making cotton candy while we?
Well, speaking of cotton candy, I mean, in my prognostications for the fall, we usually have Fall Fest, which involves
Coffee candy.
lots of cosmetic.
So much sugar. So
Um,
much sugar.
At this point, I mean, Fall Fest may be possible.
Mhm.
You know, I'm projecting that, you know, it may well be. We
We'll
just,
see how Lollapalooza goes.
yeah. There you go. And then the last reminder, next Wednesday, May 26th, we have our special board meeting for our board training. It officially starts at 6:30, although we're going to buy, you know, sandwich trays, to have them available at 6 o'clock. For those of you who might just be coming for work, want to come straight here, get something to eat, you can do that, and the meeting will proceed. And if you have any special dietary restrictions, please let Mrs. Carlstrom know, and we will do everything we can to accommodate you. And I think that's it for my numerous superintendent updates today.
Jim, I had a quick question for, I wanted to make sure you finished first. For the homebound, would that teacher that would be assigned as homebound, would that be a remote teacher or would that be a teacher like actually going into the house?
I would assume it would be a remote teacher.
Remote teacher.
Yeah, if they were choosing remote instruction.
Alright.
You know, at this point, it's a little earlier for us to know how many, if any, kids will be, you know, under that stipulation. The possibility I see is for some kids to be ineligible for the vaccine because of some health condition they may have,
Mhm.
you know, that may prevent them from being able to be vaccinated.
Sure.
But if they're vaccinating 2 to 11, by that time, all school-age children,
Yeah.
you know, would be eligible for a vaccine. Still haven't heard about mandates for vaccines yet.
I had a follow-up on the vaccine thing, so, what you're suggesting is that if it's available, we could potentially want all of our students to have it, but I'm presuming it's gonna go under an emergency use authorization for children. So I was just wondering if that's something that we wanna talk about in terms of, not necessarily now, but possibly later, about, you know, how it's gonna work, if it's an emergency use authorization, for people. There's gonna be a lot of families that I think are gonna have some hesitancy about that particular authorization.
I mean, at this point, there's not a mandate to be vaccinated, and the guidance we've got so far is just if you're eligible to be vaccinated, then you would be required, and not under a quarantine order, you'd be required to come to school.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll certainly talk more about it as we get more information.
Were you done?
I'm done.
Okay. I think it'll be interesting as it gets closer to the beginning of the school year. Our state is not like the political climate of some others, but there have now been 3 states that have outlawed mask mandates in schools.
Yep.
And we are gonna have a community likely where some of our students are vaccinated and some are not. Well, it'd be really interesting to see what the CDC is recommending, how comfortable our community feels about the mask topic.
It's going to be a fascinating year because there's still a lot of residual issues that are going to keep surfacing. So, as we get more guidance, we'll have more discussion. Presumably, you know, by June and certainly by, we don't have a July meeting scheduled, but I see the potential for a special meeting to be scheduled at some point if, you know, as we get closer to school. If we have to contemplate some of these larger issues and decisions, we'll have to do that before our August meeting, which is usually a few days before school
I
starts.
thought you enjoyed the new tradition of weekly special meetings.
Yeah, I keep, you know, counting off board meetings to retirement, but we keep adding
Because last time we never. The conversation did happen online. I think it is only fair to enter it as a matter of public record that we discussed via email about the ability on our recordings or on our virtual stream of potentially subtitling our board meetings, and open to discussion about that. I know at some point, maybe translating, though we know the technology isn't quite there to do that so easily. I do know Zoom and other webinar services have done an excellent job of trying to catch up, but it is still sometimes a labor-intensive practice. Just because we had adequate conversation about that, if anyone would like to chime in on their thoughts.
No, I just wanted to bring it up, but like, it doesn't need to be addressed now, and I understand there is no sense of urgency because this is all new and we need to like figure out how to do this first. So I am fine with tabling it, and I would wanna have a conversation at some point, again, not today, just about like, if there's only a 1 to 2% translation rate of the board meetings that are put out, that's like not a great number. So if we could dig into what we could do about that, because if you're right, if people aren't engaging, then there's no point in even translating. So like, let's have a larger conversation around that piece, but not today.
I just
Yes.
done a little bit of looking and saw that there is an option for computer, basically auto-generated closed captioning, but there were 15 different warnings on it that they make no promises of how accurate it is. And so we could just run one of our board meetings through it, see what we sound like. But
Especially with Matt's
Yeah.
I know.
Really hinder a lot of
yeah, but without a lot of vetting, I'd be pretty hesitant to find out what exciting 4-letter words you two thought I said during this sentence right now.
Sure, Derek would love to fit us all with lapel mics. And, we need a karaoke mic for Janine. And I think-
I haven't participated in our board meetings on Zoom. It's often hard because we laugh, we talk at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't think a technology device is going to capture the word. I think things would have to be transcribed, with a person sitting in and listening to the meeting and transcribing. So I think it's a significant time commitment.
I also do worry about those nuances that mean so much to our communities that may not be captured, in the translation or mistranslated, for important topics, so. But those are not necessarily things that are insurmountable, but those are all issues I think we need to talk about.
I had also just another, jumping off of that, I had sent a note just in response to Jim, but having worked with a platform that does that for video this last year, there's a lot of inaccuracies. So you really have to have time. So for every hour of video that gets produced, it's at least an hour and a half of someone going through and making those corrections, which would be very important for, I think, public meetings of a governing body. In addition, there's a lot of languages that don't translate into writing that we have in our district. Assyrian is often one where lots of people that are speakers of Assyrian don't write in Assyrian or read in Assyrian, they use Arabic. And there's other ones that are more phonetic. A lot of the East African languages are like that, so again, it's a very formal Swahili for certain things, and that it doesn't translate into speech in that way either. So I think there's just a lot of compounding factors that make that a consideration.
And I'll just throw out one more comment. Our normal board meetings, our English-speaking audience is not, all that large typically. So, I think the meetings are very interesting and engaging for us. I think oftentimes board meetings are.
Yes, they are.
Come on,
I think you're all entertained. All right,
All right.
we can schedule this in future date for more discussion.
And we will now move on to the reading and acceptance of minutes. I call for a motion to approve the minutes from the April 28th, 2021 Board of Education organizational meeting.
Second. Okay, I won't do it again.
Espinosa,
Yes.
Joseph,
Yes.
Ruffner,
Yes.
Sturban,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Warshaw,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yes.
Never apologize for second.
I didn't hear his first, that's why I waited for this to say second.
Keep it up.
Oh, boy.
All right, we shall now move on to the approval of our consent agenda. Consent agenda is our next item of business. Does any member wish to remove any item for separate consideration? I therefore call for a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the personnel report authorizing the hire, change of status, leave of absence, and retirement for licensed staff, the hire, resignation, change of status, and leave of absence for classified staff, financial reports, pay orders and expenditures, and second reading of policy 7290, suicide and depression awareness and prevention.
So moved.
Second.
There we go.
Joseph,
Yes.
Ruffner,
Yes.
Sturban,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Warshaw,
Yes.
Bell Jordan.
Yes.
Espinoza.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move on to our reports and discussion items. Ms.
All
Espinosa.
right, so NTDSE meeting last week, focused on a lot of the things that we've been talking about here, the start of next school year, planning for that full in person with only medical exemptions. Theirs might be a little bit different. They have more medically fragile children that attend that school. Talking about just, some staffing, trying to get that in. Looking for additional satellite classrooms next year, and I know I had, possible additional classrooms maybe in the district here, but I know they're trying to work on that. Then the majority of the rest of the time was really talking about just some different legislative updates. Don't know if that's something that you agree, okay. Then, so there's a bill that's been called the Play Bill that was going to be requiring school districts K through 8 to have an hour of play for all students, kindergarten through 8th grade. Well, many kindergartners do, between recess and group times and things like that do. It probably looks a little bit different at an 8th grade level. And so there was opposition to that. They've come to some sort of compromise on the bill, I believe lowering it to 30 minutes of time right now, which is typically covered under a recess kind of thing. I don't know if it's, they're still working at it, but.
Yeah, 30 minutes would not change a whole lot for us, but 60 minutes would be 30 minutes less of instruction in some content area.
Right, it would be a very big thing, in which there was a lot of call to kind of modify that. Still with the funding bill for the district, which is equalized funding between private and public institutions. ISB opposes this because they say that they don't have the funding. This bill's really been around for like 12 years. So it's been something that's been talked about for a very long time. Obviously, NTDSE is for that because they are a public institution, and it has to go with the funding between when kids are outplaced then to private facilities. It really impacts them a lot. The other one was, right now, it had to do with, so students can start receiving those services through them as soon as they turn 3 years old. And then there was something that now they're requiring it through 22 years. So
I think they're adding like a year.
they're adding a year onto it, which actually has a great financial impact to an institution to provide a whole nother year of education. And Taryn was talking about, okay, like if it goes to that school year, then maybe shortening up, starting. It was just, that was another thing that would definitely have a big financial impact.
Well, that's an unfunded mandate, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then that was it. It was more just kind of some celebrations for the school for the end of the year. We're having just some fun things. ESY, I know last time we talked about it, there was really no registrations yet, but they're up to 231 students, which is really on track to right where they have been in previous summers. So it's nice that kind of once they kind of really started working on that, kids have started signing up for ESY. So that's kind of nice to see.
Sorry, ESY?
Extended school year, I'm sorry, the summer school program.
Yeah, students with
I
IEPs.
apologize.
Yes, for students with IEPs.
It's called And that was it. That is all for me.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, we were all watching that playbill. I know there's probably nothing more principals like more than figuring out how to add a half hour playtime to your schedule. Real easy to.
The problem is we have a defined school day. And if we add an extra half hour of playtime, then we have to take a half hour of instruction away from somewhere at a time when we are wanting to improve our academic achievement for students. It's this balancing act. Of
Oh, and I don't mean to
so
make
many
light
things
of
to
it.
do at the same time.
Certainly a lot of parents are in support of
Oh,
it.
yeah.
So,
I think especially after coming off a COVID year, it's attractive to people. It's just we have so many things to get into a school day already, and the amount of time we actually have students in front of us for instruction never feels quite like enough.
It's going back to the house right now, just so y'all know where it's at.
Yeah, it's,
They have like a week.
beautiful. All right, we shall move on to our action items. Beginning with the revised 2021-2022 school calendar. I call for a motion to approve the revised 21-22 school calendar, which adds Tuesday, September 7th, 2021, as a non-attendance day in honor of Rosh Hashanah, and moves the last day of school to Monday, June 6th, 2022, as presented.
Second.
So we approved the calendar last month, and somehow Rosh Hashanah fell off from and I think what happened was we took the list of days off we had from this school year, and Rosh Hashanah fell on a weekend. And so when we ran down the checklist to make sure we had everything, accounted for, Rosh Hashanah wasn't on there, and we figured that out a week or two ago. So we're adding Rosh Hashanah back in as a day off. Happens to fall the day after Labor Day, so it's a 4-day weekend. So I don't think there'll be a whole lot of complaints there. On the back end, our last day of school was going to be on a Friday, assuming no snow days, and now we have to come back on a Monday and do it. So that happens frequently.
Do we see a drop off in attendance on the last day is on Monday?
I don't know, what do you guys say? You see drop off in attendance at the
We may
last
have
day?
answers.
It's actually the fun day.
It is, yeah, you wanna be there.
Yeah, you don't want to miss the last day of school. I mean, that's celebration time.
Reffner,
Yes.
Sturban,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Jordan.
Yeah.
Warshaw.
Yes.
Espinoza,
Yes.
Joseph.
Yes.
2021-22 student fees. I call for a motion to approve the 2021-22 required annual student fees as follows. Book and material fees at $120 and technology fee at $15. Optional fees include voluntary bus rider fee of $240, voluntary junior high yearbook fee of $18, and voluntary early childhood preschool tuition of $3,000.
So moved.
Second.
I would like to point out that early childhood preschool tuition of $3,000 is the full cost. If parents are on free or reduced lunch, the cost is substantially less. Ryan, can you quote me on
Either
it?
$50 for free students or $100 for reduced students. I would say 95%, if not more, are qualified for those fees.
Ryan, is that also 5 days?
Yes,
So that's
that's
full-time.
5
full-
half days,
5 half days. full-
correct.
Okay.
When you say $50, that's a month, right?
Yes,
So roughly $600 for the year. No. 500.
3
400.
for 3 to 500.
Yeah, 300.
How many months are there in this school year?
All right.
I'm enjoying this more than.
All right.
It's late in the day.
Una's favorite part of the video, she gets to watch us do math.
Luna's not watching us.
Watching us? I'm sure she's
Every year with this report too, I also like to point out that we, unlike just about every school in the area, continue not to charge for our after-school activities, whether it be sports, band, choir, or just a regular club. We continue to offer those for free, whereas other districts in the area, cost up to $190 to participate in some of their sports and activities. So
And how many years has it been since we raised our general student fee?
I believe 6 years ago, I think the last time was 2015, was the last time we raised our general, that's the last time we changed our general fee. We reduced it actually that year as well, but added a tech fee, and it was about the same cost overall that year too.
And
So
this year, we're able to lower our tech fee from $30 to $15 because of the new lease agreement that Derek was able to get with our iPad purchase.
Derek, we tried to get through the school year. So close, dropped that pad, walking it down.
So we're able to lower student fees by $15 this year.
Thank
Good, all right. Sturban,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Warshaw.
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Espinoza.
Yes.
Joseph,
Yes.
Ruffner.
Yes. All right, we move on to our Skokie Public Library intergovernmental agreement. I call for a motion to approve the Skokie Public Library intergovernmental agreement for 2021 through 2024, which ensure compliance with state statutes and administrative codes related to issuing library cards to teachers as presented.
Second.
There you go. That's the library.
So this is a pretty standard intergovernmental agreement with libraries. I think the changes were very minor. And not only do they provide library cards for our teachers, but I also think we work with them to be able to provide library cards for all of our students as well. Any questions?
No, it's our name's alphabetically close to my daughter's third grade teacher, Ms. Rubin, and so we always see the books she has on hold next to them. It's always been a delight for us.
Random curiosity question, does that also cover like when you see the Skokie like the mobile Skokie Public
Bookmobile?
Library? Like it does cover that too, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
All right, Sullivan,
Yes.
Warshaw.
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Espinoza.
Yes.
Joseph,
Yes.
Ruffner.
Yes.
Sturban.
Yes.
Semi-annual review of closed session minutes. I call for a motion to approve the board's attorney and the administration's recommendation after a first review to release the minutes for the closed session meetings of the Board of Education as follows. Closed session minutes for the August 5th, 2020 will be approved for partial release. Closed session minutes from the following meetings will be approved for full release. In 2020, the August 20th, October 21st, November 19th, and December 17th. In 21, the January 21, February 18th, and March 18th.
Second.
Any questions?
Warshaw.
Yeah.
What?
No, she was starting the
I
roll
was
call.
thinking,
Yeah.
I didn't
Oh,
hear
no, I
it.
thought. Oh, she said,
No question.
we all spoke at the same time. Translate that.
Warshaw.
Yes.
Jordan. Espinoza.
Yes.
Joseph,
Yes.
Ruffner.
Yes.
Sturban,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
And now we're recorded.
We look great. We look great. All right, I call for a motion to enter closed session to discuss collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees.
Second.
Jordan.
Yes.
Espinoza.
Yes.
Joseph,
Yes.
Ruffner.
Yes.
Sturban,
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Warshaw.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's see everybody. On YouTube?
It takes,
Yep,
again, there's a
that's why
delay.
it's stopping, right?
You can stop that, this is gonna delay, we should come back up here.
There's probably-
Look at this, we're
Yeah, look at
we're
that.
live.
We're back.
Alright, No.
Welcome back, Una.
I'm gonna tell her that.
Please do. It's a minute. She can watch it for the next 13 months. 15 months. If there is no further business to come before the board, I call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Joseph,
Yes.
Ruffner,
Yes.
Sturban,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Warshaw,
Yes.
L. Jordan,
Yeah.
Espinoza,
Yes.
Joseph.
I started. Everybody.
Second his own vote.
Hey, can I abstain from my second?